So a lot of people, they think like glitz and glam. They see Selling Sunset and they think like, oh, I'm going to go sell a $15 million home, but they don't understand. You got to work for this.
It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. If you're someone who lives in an area where it's so expensive to buy real estate and you feel like it's impossible, then I have something for you. I just released a free guide that's going to give you the 8 steps you need to take to buy your first out-of-state property. I bought several properties out of state, living in California, investing in Ohio, and you could do the same. It's just a matter of having the right information. So click the link in the description of this episode to get your free guide today. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share with a friend. If you're on audio, leave us that 5-star rating and review. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to hearing your feedback. Very excited about this episode today. Here I have Nikki and Natasha Reneau of the Reneau Group. Thank you both so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you for having us. We're
thank
super
you.
excited.
Thank you.
Of course. How you feeling today?
We're feeling good. We're ready.
It's the top of the morning.
Yeah,
Go get it.
Definitely. So let's get it. Let's jump right in. I would love to first hear about why you two decided to work together. You know, there's such a misconception in our community that Black folks can't work together and that you should not be in business with your family. And so we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And Natasha, let's hear your feedback first.
Right. So, I mean, we're kind of an anomaly only because literally I think we've maybe had 10 disagreements in our whole life.
No way.
I mean, we're blood sisters, grew up together, shared the same room until we couldn't anymore. But we just have always gotten along. It's a blessing, actually. That's the way we look at it. It's a blessing. So with us wanting to work together, I mean, it's just 2 of us girls. Our father doesn't have any sons. So, you know, with us wanting to be ambitious and grow something and create a legacy and things of that sort, why not? It's better to do it with family. You know what I mean? And with us already having that dynamic, a great relationship, I mean, this is my best friend.
Yeah.
So with us having that dynamic and being able to work together in that manner, it was a no-brainer. As far as like when we went into real estate, we both went in at around the same time as well, different circumstances, but around the same time. And we did work independently on our own for the first year of being licensed, right? And then we just kind of were like, why don't we just form the Reneau Group?
Exactly.
I mean, we need to create something for our children to be able to pass on. I mean, we grew up in like a regular middle class family, and our family is amazing. Our parents are amazing. They always taught us to work hard, but we always wanted more.
Exactly.
We wanted wealth. We wanted something that we could hand over to our kids and they can 10x it. We wanted 10x what we were given, and then we want to pass over a legacy to our children and for them to be able to 10x it and for them to even be able to, I would say, transition into something without having to hustle and bustle so hard for it. Of course, we're going to give them those values and that mentality, but you know, what better way to do it than with family? Keep it in the family.
Absolutely.
So.
Love it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll kind of just piggyback on what she said. It is a true blessing, you know, like we balance each other out really well. You know, we both have our strengths when it comes to working in business together. But just like she said, just being able to build a legacy, that's something that's very important to us. And also just why have our children grind so hard if they don't have to, you know? So yeah, we're very fortunate. Something that we love to do every single morning is we text each other positive affirmations. Like, we are multi-million-dollar producers. We are the top luxury real estate group in the United States, you know? So it's been a blessing. And I know everybody can't work together, but again, with that balance that we have, we dominate and we do what we have to do.
I think if you have the same mindset, people should be able to be emotionally intelligent, have conversations, open communication, and be able to work together. It's really that if, you know, you find someone that aligns with what you have, everything else in between, you can work it out. So, and I just think, yes, our community needs to see that a little more often. We definitely need it. For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So just having everything, like, again, best friends, we're sisters, we're business partners. We do everything together. Like, we were pregnant at the same time.
Yes.
You know, so life
had
is a
some
trip.
unfortunate stuff happen at the same time, but that's okay because it's
it made
catapulted us
exactly.
to where God wanted us to be.
It made us stronger, stronger together.
One day, people will hear our testimony.
They definitely will.
Definitely.
Not today.
Doesn't have to be today. That's all good. That's all good. One thing you both mentioned is just so your children don't have to hustle so hard. And there's a lot of people who actually think that's a bad approach. Like some folks think like, it'll result in lazy children and things of that nature. I have my own opinions about that, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because I can tell there's a lot of intentionality around what you're trying to do to make it easier for your children in the future. So I'm sure you might have heard similar feedback about just like within the community about that. We'd love to hear what you think about that.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not saying that our kids are not going to have to work, because we do feel that having a good work ethic is very important, but just to make things a little easier for them, So we're putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. There may be, when my daughter, when she turns 18 years old, she has the option to come work with us. And she's going to be 18 in like the next couple of years. And so at the end of the day, we're going to give a client, but she's going to have to do the work. It's not like we're going to be the ones doing all the work for her. If you want to kind of
so it's setting a foundation for success, because we are giving the values. Like even now, like she has an older daughter, but we also have 5-year-old. Well, she's 6 now. Yeah, and I have a coming soon 6. But even just like with my son, what I'm telling him is that you want toys. How do we get toys? This is what has to happen. Mommy has to go and sell a house. So he understands that. And even if he has to come with me on a showing or something of that sort, or go check on a listing or something, he understands. He says, okay, let's go to a property because I'll get toys eventually, So it's just the simple, and that's a simple lesson. So it's those little things that obviously as they get older, we're implanting that in them. But we'll be able to put them in a position. This is also something that is happening for us when certain people really gravitate to what we're doing. Yeah. They want to put us in a position because they see how hard we work. But now we'll be able to give them the tools to where they can, like I said, 10x what we've given them. But we're also instilling those values in them. But yes, I see where you're coming from with that.
And I love how you mentioned the property. Like a property equates to, okay, we have to sell this property so that you can get toys. And so she definitely takes her son often. And then even too, like with myself, my children come with me to open houses as well. And so they understand like, okay, well, we got to show this house. We got to get an offer accepted on this listing. And once that takes place, okay, we can go do something. We can be rewarded, so understanding that work ethic.
Definitely. I'm glad you two explained that, because I personally feel the same way. I mean, it's kind of your job to make the path easier for your kid than you had it, right? Like everyone says, oh, you need to get it out the mud and all this stuff. But if we look at other communities, there is a leg up for many reasons, including the fact that their parents did things to set them up for success. So the road will be easier for them. And you both explained, you can also align it with a good work ethic, good values, and so they know the importance of things. So I think it's a win-win all around, in my opinion, if they don't have to go through what you may have had to go through to get where you're going.
Absolutely.
I think that's the point.
Right. Exactly. Most definitely. Yeah, I wish somebody would just give me a client.
Man, I'm telling you, because the work that we put into it, we will get them to the closing table. That would be such a blessing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it's exciting.
Definitely. So next thing I want to talk about is just like your roles within the business. Of course, you're working together, but what does that look like in practice? And you did mention like strengths and weaknesses and things like that. But what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? We can start with you, Natasha.
Sure. Well, I will say, we always say, hey, you get 2 agents for 1. Yeah. But dependent on, who kind of had the relationship, or even dependent on the nature of the transaction, one person will lead and then the other one is just there to kind of fall back on. Also, we're just constantly always double checking with each other. Like, for example, I'm very structured perfectionist. And she's very simplistic and very
straight to the point.
So this is just a small example, but there might be like a 10-sentence email that I'm going to, or text I'm going to send to a client, and I send it to her first and say, what do you think of this? And she'll condense it to 2 sentences. So it's just like our dynamic is perfect in that manner. Yeah, I mean, there's just certain things that she's doing that, like she's huge on data and she can kind of expand a little more on that, but she's huge on the numbers and the data. And I'm big on like the presentation of it all, like the whole. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very big when it comes to data. I love the numbers, and I will. Maybe there might be a buyer out there, and they want to know the difference between one neighborhood versus the other. So I'm going to break it down to a T. We're going to look at the median sales price. You know, we're going to look at how many days on market each of these homes have been on market. We're going to look at the price per square foot. So there's so many things that I'm breaking down within like the last 5 years to be able to present it to them to help them make an informed decision.
yeah, I mean, because I feel like we essentially do the same things. It's just one leads more than the other one in each transaction.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, you know, the data, and then I'm just kind of like the overall presentation, the creative
aspect of things.
yeah.
I like it. Like, so it sounds like, Nikki, you're more like the data, like the numbers and that information. You're more like the creative side of the business pretty much. And it sounds like it's pretty complimentary.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Because we both, I would
sure.
say even in like expansion and getting clients, we both equally work the same. So it's not like one person's getting
Works harder
Yeah.
than the other.
But
That makes sense. What are some challenges of working together?
God.
It's been about 3 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been about
Yeah.
3 years now. It's crazy because I know for me, like I don't have any challenges working alongside her. Again, we both apply the same
we
amount
have a
of
very
work.
open communicative.
Exactly.
Like we communicate all the
Very
time about
well.
everything, all aspects. So I think that has really helped us.
For sure. And if something is bothering us, okay, so I guess I could kind of
Oh yeah.
chime in here.
I've gotten better.
But she has gotten a lot better. That's why, again, I don't dwell on things. And
Yeah.
so for me, it kind of took me a minute to think. But she is very controlling. She's a Capricorn.
Tell people that. Okay.
Okay, anyways, so she can be controlling. And so sometimes like we may be at a listing appointment or we may be getting photos for a listing and she steps in and says, no, like this needs to get removed and this needs to get removed. And I'll tell her, we don't discuss that here. You know, we take whatever, because in front of a client, it just doesn't look right, you know? And so there have been times where I had to pull her aside, like just bring it down a little bit. And just allow me to do what I'm doing. And she's gotten a whole lot better. But I would say that has been the only challenge with working with her.
Full disclosure, I'm the older sister.
She is.
What's the
3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years.
But I do take it as constructive criticism and
Yeah.
I do modify.
Which I think is wonderful, you know? So some people, they may think that you tell them something and then they're just like, okay, whatever. And they continue to do the same thing. But I love working with her. It's amazing.
I love working with you.
Love it. And you two are with Keller Williams, is that right? So a lot of agents, aspiring agents, there's so many brokerages out there. There's so many different companies you can work with and, you know, do your thing in partnership with. How does someone find the right company in your opinion? And
Right.
Let's start there.
That's a great question. So, I mean, there's different types of brokerages. First off, you have a national franchise brokerage, which is like the bigger names, like the Keller Williams, the Caldwell Bankers, the Century 21, the Remax. And those brokerages are more so known for their reputation. They've been around for many years. They're known for their great training, their great mentorship, their great technology. You also have the smaller boutique brokerages. Those are typically owned by a single broker, and they focus more so on like a smaller niche market. It's also known for like just having a tight-knit community as well. And then you also have virtual brokerages. Those are, you know, technology-based, and a lot of agents typically decide to work with a virtual brokerage because they have higher commission splits. And so in regards to just trying to find the right brokerage, it's really just dependent on what your goals are. So typically newer agents, they decide to work with like the Keller Williams of the world because of the great training that they have. But it really is just dependent on, again, what are your goals? So if you want to be in the luxury space, then it would be wise to be a part of a luxury team, especially as a newer agent. Because we always say that you want to work under someone who is where you want to be. So, just finding out what are the commission splits. And something that we always say, especially for a newer agent, don't focus so much on the commission splits. Yes, it is important, but if you want to get the proper training, 60% or a 70% commission split is better than 80% split of nothing.
Right.
So
you're taking the, excuse me, you're kind of taking that loss. It's not a loss, but it's a learning cost.
Yeah.
So, you're making sure that, like she said, if you're a newer agent, I'll actually expand on that. I think getting with a team is absolutely like the thing you need to do if you're a newer agent, because you can get so lost in the mix. So not only interviewing brokerages, but also interviewing teams to be able to see who you align with, because you automatically have a mentor within that team from the director or someone within when you're a part of a team. Whereas when you're just with a brokerage, you kind of have to seek out a mentor, someone who's going to, work with you. But yeah, no, I mean, it's really just dependent on your goals. That's really what it boils down to, is what are you looking for? She nailed it.
Yeah. What are you looking for? And then again, like there's other questions that you can ask when you are interviewing, finding out what is the environment like what is the commission split, but aside from that, what are the royalty fees? What are the office fees? What type of trainings do they offer?
Yeah.
So
also, if you're newer, you don't really have as much money to put out. So what is their back support like? Do they offer a free CRM that you can utilize? Do they have a marketing department that can create all of your marketing materials, things of that sort? So not even just the training, but just the things that the tools that you're going to need to be able to effectively, work in your business.
Definitely. Appreciate that. A couple of follow-up questions, just vocabulary for those who may not know. Can you explain what a commission split is and how that works?
For sure. So a commission split is the split that you get once you end up closing on a deal. So a typical commission split is a 70-30 split for a newer agent. So 70% of that commission check goes to you, and then 30% will end up going to the brokerage.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's for all the support that, all the training, the teaching, the support items that they offer, and even having an office that you can utilize at brick and mortar. So if you want to go to an office for a meeting, you have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then what about the royalty fee? I haven't heard of that one before.
So
the royalty fee is more so those national brokerages. So like the Keller Williams, the Caldwell Bankers, the Compass. So I don't really understand why they take from it, because each business is owned independently. They're franchised offices, but it's still within like the Keller Williams brand.
Right.
So Keller Williams, like international as a whole, has to, I guess, take a royalty for being able to utilize their name, because each of the offices are owned by individuals.
Got it.
Yeah. So I guess that's what it is. I don't know the breakdown of it, but from what I know, that's what it is.
Got it. So basically you have your commission split with the local office, and then depending on how things are set up, an additional, almost like a commission, if you will, that goes to like the
higher ups.
Got you.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So something to add in, like with commission splits, you are able to eventually cap at a certain point where you can then collect 100% of your check, which is wonderful. So every cap is different for each office, and every royalty fee is different for each office. But eventually you are able to collect that 100% as long as you're able to cap. And then that 100%, it ends up resetting your anniversary year. So then you go back to whatever split you have. And what's great is it's like you can negotiate that split. So again, if you are a newer agent, it's going to be harder to negotiate that split. But if you are a seasoned agent, then you can more than likely negotiate a higher split.
Got it. So you mentioned you could eventually have like the whole commission.
Yeah.
For some brokerages.
It just depends. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like I know Keller Williams has that model.
Got it. So what do they get when someone gets to that point?
So it's more so it restarts every year. So you have an anniversary year. Yeah.
Got you.
You just have to give them a certain amount of money each year. And then if you meet that, say half of the, at the middle of the year, then the rest of the year you collect 100%. Then it resets on your anniversary date.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you're back to that same split that you had initially. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. So they, like, however it's set up, let's just throw a number out there. If it's 100,000 is the cap. If you meet that 100,000 for the rest of that year, you take the rest of your commission.
Exactly, 100%.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So they're like, just give us a certain amount. And then after
you can
that,
take home
take the rest.
100%.
And then just give us, we have a fee for you every single year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That we're going to collect. Which I think is a cool model. It's a great incentive. And it's competitive
It is.
Yeah.
for, in this market. So
Definitely. So you actually got right into the next question. So, I mean, we're in a competitive market, right? We're in LA, and you two focus primarily in luxury, is that right?
luxury and investments.
Luxury
We're
investments.
big in investments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you. So, I mean, it's a very competitive market in general, but especially here. What have you two done to like stand out? Like how are you still able to succeed and close deals in spite of the fact that there's so many people out there doing the exact same thing?
Be multifaceted.
Yep.
Be an expert in so many different areas of real estate. So it's just constantly learning and growing. And for us specifically, like we started off, like I came from a background of working with investors and doing wholesaling properties to them, getting it under contract. And so I did that prior to even getting licensed. So I brought that knowledge in with me and, shared it with my sister. And so we really like buckle in on when, no matter what, someone's always buying.
Yes.
There's always a developer and an investor that is looking to buy something as long as the deal is right.
Yep.
And that is what we have honed in on when we're talking about this part of our business. Obviously, there's other things we do to stay competitive too. But yeah, I mean, we're finding deals, and we're finding deals all the way from residential, like a single family home that's going to be flipped, up to these large development deals where someone's going to build like 100 plus units. So it's just we're educating ourselves on all the different things in the LA market to be able to speak to each of our investors and developers. And we have a wide spread. I mean, like I said, there's people who just flip single family homes, and there's people who develop large properties, commercial properties. So it's really just educating ourselves on that and being able to find the deals and see what works for each of our clients.
And then just to chime in on what she said, finding the deals, but then also being able to find the buyer as well. So a lot of people say, well, I don't have a buyer for this. It's so easy to come across a buyer because all you got to do is look at properties that have recently
She's
sold.
giving our secret sauce now.
Nearby. And I probably shouldn't.
But it's okay. No, it's okay. Share
knowledge
the wealth.
knowledge
Share
is
the
power,
wealth.
But it's like find properties that have recently sold nearby and go get yourself
That's
a buyer.
simple. Just call them up.
That's all you gotta
we have
do.
a deal down the street for you. Are you
Exactly.
interested? Does this meet your criteria?
Yeah, to be
And
able
if
to
it doesn't,
double
what
in
is your
both deals.
criteria?
Right.
We see you bought something like it. Are you
Yeah.
still buying that? So
Yeah, definitely. And see, that's what's so great with working with us because we are hustlers. We're going to go find what we have to find, even when it comes down to just door knocking, sending out mailers. And I'll tie that into buyers, being in a competitive market. You
Like
have
retail buyers,
You
right?
have, talking about retail buyers, not investors. You can be submitting an offer for a buyer and there's 10 other offers on that same property. So it's truly just when you are submitting an offer, making sure that you have a super clean offer, making sure that you're staying in close communication with whoever the listing agent is and finding out what is important to that seller. Finding out, is there an offer deadline? If there is an offer deadline, wait to submit that offer for your buyer on that date of that deadline at that time so that your offer is not being shopped around as the competing offer for all the other agents that are out there trying to submit as well.
Can I also add in
Yes.
following the directions from the agent
Yes.
in the MLS notes? Because if they're stating for you to send everything in one PDF
Yes.
and you don't, most of the time they're going to be like, you know what? They don't even listen. Do I really want to go into a transaction with that person? You know what I mean? Like it's these simple things that even because we're listing agents, we're primarily listing agents. Our majority of our business is that. And we're always, when we put the instructions there, we do look to see who's paying attention.
Absolutely.
Because if they're not paying attention, are they going, how are we going to work with them?
For sure.
So your agent is really
important.
Who you decide to represent you as your buyer's agent is very
critical.
important. I think it's just as critical as who you choose as your listing agent.
Absolutely.
Definitely. No, I like the piece about instructions. I mean, that's very telling, especially if it's like spelled out for you.
Oh yeah,
You would be
think it's very
surprised.
for
important.
sure.
You'd be surprised how many agents don't pay
They don't
attention.
follow instructions.
Yeah.
And then also too, I just want to expand on the, buyers being in a competitive market. So one thing that we do is we'll send out mailers. There may be a property or there might be an area that they want to live. And so we're going to go pull a list, and we are going to send out mailers to those homeowners to see if they want to sell. We'll door knock in the area that that buyer may want to purchase in as well. And so we're being very active and we're being very intentional. And I do feel that is something that kind of sets us apart from a lot of realtors, because again, they'll go on the MLS, try to find a deal, and they're like, okay, well, this is all that's available. Another thing we do is we call expireds. So we're calling expireds, we're calling withdrawn properties as well, trying to see if we can get a deal made. And so do you know what an expired is, or like a withdrawn? So expired is a seller, they put their property on the market before, however, it didn't end up selling. And so typically it didn't sell maybe because it was priced too high, or maybe the area is not as desired, maybe the property needs a little bit of work. So we're reaching out to those homeowners since the property never sold, trying to see if we can, again, put a deal together. And it's the same thing with a canceled or a withdrawn listing. Didn't sell because maybe it was priced too high. So we got to get creative in a competitive market.
So also, just kind of expand on that, we are in a seller's market, so it's a little easier to sell properties right now. But when the rates had jumped high, when everyone wasn't ready for it, as listing agents, you had to do a little more. You actually had to work, right? So you're having to actually physically market. You're having to reach out to certain agents to see if they have a buyer for this. You're having to, social media ads, open houses, actually picking up the phone. You would be surprised how many listing agents do not pick up the phone, which is so surprising. So you really have to be careful when you hire a listing agent, because you want to sell your house, right? So picking up the phone, being communicative. So many agents because like I said, we do a lot of listings. So people have said to us, you don't even realize, thank you. Thank you for just communicating with me. Thank you for picking up the phone. The fact that something that is so simple is
so hard to come
across in this in this industry is beyond me. It's like, do you really like doing real estate, right? We love doing real estate, so we're here, but it's surprising, just the small things too. So.
Wow, that was a lot of amazing information. And I think the theme that stuck out there is like, you just have to be willing to think outside of the box if you want to be successful, and also do what others are not willing to do. Like, most people are probably not willing to send out mailers within a particular neighborhood or zip code for their client, or to put their feet on the ground and knock on some doors. Pick up the phone, look at the expireds and withdrawn offers and so forth. So I think for anyone out there who's interested in becoming an agent and being successful, like, these are some of the things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to put in the work. So I appreciate you just explaining that so thoroughly.
Yeah, no,
for sure. It's important. And another thing I want to add, there's like 1.5 million realtors in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And I think out here in Los Angeles, there's about 202,000 realtors. Or no, I'm sorry, not Los Angeles, in California as a whole. Florida has the most realtors. They have about 212,000. And so a lot of people, they think like glitz and glam. They see selling Sunset and they think like, oh, I'm going to go sell a $15 million home, but they don't understand. You got to work for this. And so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Unless
because
they have the network, like the parents, that like what we're going to do for our kids,
Yes.
right? That's a little different. But everybody else who is just, watching these shows and thinking, oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
We'll put your mind to it and do it, but you have to work to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And mindset is everything.
It is.
That's another great thing with working together, because one person may be having, a moment, and the other person is going to lift that person up and say, you know what, you got this. We got this. We're doing this for our kids. Let's do what we got to do and stay focused.
Like the word hard is not allowed.
Yeah.
Like, just
not at all.
Certain things are just not allowed. We're not allowed to say, and we have to catch each other.
Yep. And we got to believe it before we even see it. That's another thing that we've instilled in each other as well. So.
Definitely. I'm getting excited.
For sure.
So one thing that I want to talk about is the door knocking. For a lot of people, that probably can be very intimidating. I'm not sure if it felt that way when you first started, but what does that conversation look like? Like, when you just knock on somebody's door who wasn't expecting you, like, what do you even say?
I love that question. So for us, there's different ways of going about it, but one thing that we've been doing lately is data. So we have we have a flyer that kind of just breaks down inventory, like what inventory looked like a year and a half ago, what inventory looks like now. And so we knock on their door, we announce ourselves like, hi, we're Nikki and Natasha with the Reneau Group and of Keller Williams. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have regarding real estate. You know, we always want to come from a place of value and see if there's anything that we can do for them. And then we also let them know, you know, have you ever considered selling? Have you ever heard any of your neighbors mention that they're considering selling, because inventory levels are at an all-time low right now and buyers are actively searching for homes. And so if you've considered selling or even buying, we'd love to be that resource for you. And so that's typically how the conversation goes.
It's a value. It's bringing value. Even if they decide to say, you know, hey, no, this is staying in the family. Well, do you have it in a trust? So we're always trying to at least be of value. And then, you know, we let them know, hey, if you'd like to know, you know, what your property value is doing each month, we have other clients and other, you know, neighbors in the neighborhood that are other homeowners in the neighborhood who are actually actively receiving stuff from us that shows them what their house is worth. We have this one program. It's called HomeBot, which gives them their equity. It shows them what they could do with their equity. If they want to refi, what it would look like. If they want to go buy another property, what it would look like, and just some other really cool things. So, you know, just giving them value points and letting them know what's happening in their neighborhood. Also, if we have a listing, we're going to let them know, hey, this is just listed. Come stop by. You know, we'd love for you to see what, most of the time it's an investor that has remodeled, what they've done with the property. So it's just, you know,
what the conversation looks like.
Yeah.
And then we've actually gotten phone calls with that HomeBot that we use. They see what their property is worth, and they're like, you know what? I wasn't considering selling, but this looks pretty good. So I want to sell my home now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those tools are they may not have been considering, but the tool works for itself. And we didn't even have to call them or anything. They're literally on a monthly email, and that's
automated.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's our highest open rate for anything, any of our stuff that we send out. It's like 70%. It's crazy.
It's high.
It's crazy. Yeah. People are in tune to it. So if you're a homeowner, you probably want to get on.
Absolutely.
Just contact us. We'll put you on. It's free.
And then even with our newsletter too, that's something that we send out weekly. So we send out a weekly newsletter, and that's something that is included. And we've been seeing people add themselves to receive that home value report.
Shout out to Ricky Caruth.
Yes, I know. Ricky Caruth, he is a beast. He sells so much real estate. And I remember at the top of the year, we both committed and we said, we are going to send out a weekly newsletter so we can constantly stay in front of people's faces, that they can see how intentional and how consistent we are in our business. So that's been working out pretty well for us.
I love it. What do you include inside of the newsletter in addition to like the HomeBot?
So our newsletter, it can consist of escrows, just listed, coming soon listings. It includes like events going on for the weekend.
Like a news bit. Just information on what's happening within sports, what's happening within real estate.
And then we also provide like what what interest rates are looking like. We also provide, the open houses, but then we do the residential, Los Angeles County residential update to let people know what's been selling, the percent of the average sales price, how much it's increased or decreased within the last year. And then we just provide just informative stuff that keeps people informed of what's happening in the real estate market in Los Angeles as a whole.
That's called Into the Weekend with TRG. So even we have for all of our, throughout LA County, there's certain areas that we do target, like neighborhoods. So we'll let everyone know what's happening as far as open house wise. So here are all the open houses in Long Beach. Here are all the open houses in Beverly Hills. Here are all the open taking place. So if anyone wanted to go, and reach out to us if you have any questions.
Definitely. So what I really like, another theme I'm seeing is just adding value. So even when you're knocking on the door and someone doesn't necessarily want to sell, you're asking if it's in a trust, or do you have neighbors, or just seeing how else you could help them, getting people on your email list and just informing people, because, you know, eventually somebody will probably be ready, right? And I'm sure you've seen that over the years. And top of mind because they're getting the weekly emails. So
Yeah.
when they think about real estate or I'm ready to sell or somebody I know wants to sell or buy or whatever the case is, they're going to think of the Reneau Group because you're kind of like in their face and also giving good information so that when the time is right, you can make a move.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the
again,
goal.
we always, again, value is so important to us. Like we don't ever want someone to leave our presence without feeling like we provided some ounce of value.
Right.
So it could even come down to, do you need a contractor, someone who's doing work to their home? Well, hey, we have a list of contractors. Do you need an attorney? We have a list of attorneys. We're all about convenience.
We have private chefs. We have
everything
nanny
that you
service.
need.
We have whatever you need.
Wow.
What do you
It's all
need?
about convenience.
We have a great referral for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on the 3 C's, which is consistency, communication, and convenience. And so we definitely live by that.
Definitely. So one thing I want to talk about as well is just challenges that you've had as Black women within this space. I mean, there's not a lot of Black people within the space, and especially as you think about like luxury real estate and all those things. So we'd just love to hear about some of the challenges that you've experienced over the years.
Well, I first want to say we're very solution driven. So these challenges, we actually appreciate them because it just gets us, our solution muscle going, which prompts growth. So we like that part of it. The actual challenges itself, I mean, we can speak on it. You want to start first?
Go
Go ahead.
I guess one thing for me that's really big is just when it comes to the way that I dress. Somebody else, let's talk selling sunset. What you see those women wearing, we can't, as Black women, wear those types of outfits.
As thicker women.
Yes, as thicker women. And so I often am reaching out to my sister like, hey, girl, is this a little bit too much? Because, again, we're going to be judged for what we have on. We just have to be more knowledgeable than somebody else in this industry. So for example, I was door knocking yesterday and we started talking about zoning. We started talking about just different things, just different developments and stuff in the neighborhood. And at first I, said my spiel, let the gentleman know a little bit about like what's happening in the market. And I asked him if he's considered selling, because we just had a client that purchased something just a couple doors down and he's looking for more property. And I asked him for his contact information. He's like, well, I have your information here on your flyer, so I'll hold on to it. And I said, but you're probably going to lose it. And he's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to lose it. And so we started talking more. I started talking, really getting into depth in regards to zoning and just what me and my sister, what our plans are. And he was very impressed. He said, wow, you actually do know what you're talking about. So you know what? I said, okay, wonderful. What's your phone number? He said, give me your phone. Let me put your number in. So this is what we come across.
It's very prevalent.
Really,
very prevalent because I feel like we're just automatically discounted.
We are.
But when they actually hear us talk and we know what we're talking about and we're well versed on so many aspects of real estate, it's like we've had to, it's not that we didn't ever want to do that. I'm sure we would have done it, but it's like it's a necessity as a Black woman in real estate.
Absolutely.
To be on a high level and to get to a high level in that luxury and investment space.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, it's very normal for other races to do it, but when it comes to even our Black men, it can be a little disappointing, or when time is wasted, right? Because maybe we have to use discernment.
Yes.
Are they really wanting to work with us, or are they wanting to excuse my language? Like just date us. It's just, and women have to go through that as well, just in general, not just Black women, but like she said, we just have to be a lot more knowledgeable.
Understanding, even when it comes down to just understanding contracts. Again, people think, okay, well, I'm just going to go sell a house. It's like, it's so much more than that. You got to understand these contracts because your clients are going to ask you questions.
But I will say, I just want to say thank you to all the people who have seen the hard work and have believed in our mission and where we're going and have put us in rooms and in positions. Like we look at that. And that overshadows all the negative.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, that's what we focus on. What you focus on, expands. So that's what we focus.
Definitely. No, I appreciate your transparency, and I do like the fact that you mentioned even before talking about the challenges, how solutions driven you are, and just how the different challenges have prepared you for what's next, and just some of the things that you will inevitably experience in this business. And I hope it's an encouragement to Black women who are looking to go out there and be agents, to know that, you know, there will be some challenges, many of them unforeseen, but you can persist through it. You can still succeed in spite of like the challenges that might come your way. And some of the inconveniences they might present in the moment as well. So I appreciate you too being so transparent about that.
Definitely.
Of course. Yeah.
Definitely. So I want to talk about the home buying process. I know one of the things we spoke about prior was just the pre-approval process in particular, but I would love to talk about just the different parts of the process too. A lot of people get confused about what each of those things mean, whether you're buying as an investor or, you know, for primary residence. So we'd love to talk a bit more about the process.
For sure. So when it comes to purchasing a home, we notice that buyers kind of do things a little backwards. So they'll, you know, go on Zillow.
Excited.
Yeah, they do. They get super excited, and it's understandable. But they'll hop on Zillow and start looking at, you know, $1.5 million homes, whatever the case. And we always say it's very important to get your team together, you know, so hiring that realtor, getting connected with a lender so that you can get fully pre-approved, to know where you stand in the market so that you can be intentional in your home search. And so one thing a lot of buyers don't understand is, as a buyer, you don't pay a commission, you don't pay any type of fee to the agent that's representing you. And so you want to make sure that you are getting pre-approved again, so that you understand what you can qualify for. So once that takes place, once you know what you're pre-approved for, then we can get your criteria and find out specifically what your wants and your needs are. Oftentimes people will focus on things that they can't, I mean, this is the thing. People want that perfect home. And we always say, unless you're building the home from the ground up, there are some things that you're just going to have to live with, you know, especially being out here in California. The cost of living it's ridiculous, you know, so we've actually started to see a lot of multi-generational living, and that's where many family members are getting approved together to be able to purchase a property. And so that's a great option for many people who can't afford, because it is an affordability issue out here in California. So yes, one thing to say, make sure that you are getting pre-approved and getting your realtor who's going to represent you in your best interest. You know, it's very important to be loyal to that realtor. You know, there's so many realtors out here, and if you're not connected with that realtor, and loyal to them, it's going to be really difficult for that realtor to be loyal to you, you know? And so for us, it's like, when we know that we have that loyalty from a buyer, we're going to work very, very hard. We're going to give 1,000% to make sure that we are finding a property for that client.
Right. We all have the same inventory.
Yes.
We might have access to a few more, you know, off markets here and there, but we all have the same inventory. So, you know, working with multiple realtors it doesn't make sense. It's not effective. It makes everybody mad.
And we don't want to make people mad. We want to stay happy.
Yeah. So that's the pre-approval process is, and the team, that's just echoing what she's saying. Because after that, it's like you're submitting offers and it's go time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Have you seen buyers being hesitant at all because of the interest rates that have increased?
Oh yeah,
most definitely.
It's happened for sure, because what's happening is people are now getting priced out because of higher interest rates. So yeah, we've definitely seen it. But again, we also are seeing the multi-generational living. So maybe, you know, you have a mom and a daughter who are going in together on a property, just to be able to make that purchasing a home a reality out here in California.
And something that we've shared with them, and maybe even if they've done their own research, but we are still historically low when it comes to interest rates. I mean, we were in double digits at one point in time in our, you know, this whole history of home buying. So with them knowing that, and it's kind of like not everyone should buy a home. It's not a one size fits all at that time. This might not be the best time for you, but if it is, and everything, all of the circumstances within your life align to where you are in a great position to do it, then you need to do it. And the interest rate shouldn't be the only reason.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, especially buying out here, homes appreciate like crazy. Property appreciates. It just keeps going up in value. So you look at we look at even historically, like, hey, we have a buyer right now. He's very like honing in on that, where it was the interest rate before, but he's now looking at, okay, well, historically, how much has this area appreciated?
Yeah.
And then let's look at what development's happening over there. Like Inglewood's, getting just an enormous amount of development. Long Beach is a great area. San Pedro has some developments happening. Woodland Hills has some development. There's just so many different. Echo Park has so much development. So it's just also looking at where the development is happening and like how the increase is going to, help you in the long run. It's not just about the interest rate. If you can afford the monthly payment,
Yes.
then you're in a good position.
We say buy when you qualify.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Don't think too hard.
Yeah. So a lot of people buy too much more home than they can afford. And so they might get pre-approved for X price and they just like max it out. So like, let's say I get approved for $800,000 based on my financials. However, if I look at that payment in the grand scheme of all my expenses, I can't really afford that, but I still do it because I can get it. How should people navigate that? Because that's something that is a problem.
It is. It's a huge problem. And I'm glad that you touched on that. We always advise our clients, just because you qualify for X amount, make sure that it fits into your lifestyle. You do not want to be house poor. And so, we'll show them homes that fit what they're approved for, and then just really allow them to make that decision. But again, we're constantly echoing to them, if you end up spending this amount of money on a mortgage payment, are you going to have to take anything away from your current life, your lifestyle? Right.
And then even the homes that they may not have considered, we'll talk about some of the, and she's going to expand on that a little later, but even so, this home might not be what you're looking for, but guess what? The land is zoned R2, which means you could build 2 units plus an ADU on it. So in the long run, this is a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we're telling them, hey, there's a lot of bonuses to getting something you may not have considered in the first place. You don't need this, and you don't want to live, in captivity to your house.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important for people to consider that, because a lot of times people want to buy their dream home first for their first home. Like, you want everything in it. And, let's just say a primary residence, for example, like in my opinion, it doesn't have to have everything you want. You could always trade up over time, and you don't have to get everything you want the first time. Because I would imagine a lot of those people end up not buying properties that they should buy, and you can improve it over time, or they end up maxing out and buying something they can't truly afford, and then a couple years later you're in a tough situation.
For sure. And one thing that we're big on is opportunity. Like, look at properties that may have been sitting on the market for some time. It might not be that turnkey property that you're looking for, but you can bring it to life.
And you're walking into automatic equity.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah.
But even multifamily properties, allowing that to be your first property. Because again, people want that big old home as their first home. But to us, what makes the most sense, go get a multifamily property if you can qualify for it, live there for some time, eventually move out, put a tenant in your home.
Property.
Exactly. And then pull out some of that equity to then go acquire what you really want. And so now you go from having one property to having yourself 2 properties, playing Monopoly.
Versus everything tied into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's very important. And, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We all got to start somewhere. You don't necessarily have to get to the finish line, the ultimate destination on your first at bat.
Exactly.
I think it's important for people, especially right now, just with the rates and all these things, you're probably going to have to make some concessions
Absolutely.
to get into a house if that's what you
most definitely. We have a chart that we have our clients use. It says they have to write down, they have to do this because we use it in our search process. What are your must-haves, your can live with, and your deal breakers? And we revisit that. And when certain things, for some reason, the property is not working out, or they don't want this property, we go back to that list and remind them, well, you said that you could live with this. And so those are tools we use as well in that whole process.
Because they'll try to get off track.
They do. It's very easy to
hone them back in. Yeah, definitely.
it can be an intense process if you don't have, the right person helping you navigate through it. So.
Definitely. So let's talk about zoning, on something that's quite interesting out here and everywhere. But how should that factor into someone's purchase decision, and how does that factor into your business?
Yeah, so zoning is big. Zoning, it's going to inform you of what you can do with that land, what you can do with that property. If you can add multiple units to the property, how high you can build the property. So out here in California, I believe like 2/3 of the residential real estate is zoned LAR1. LAR1 typically means that you can only have one home on that lot. Now, Government Newsom, he passed a law, which was the Senate Bill 9, which allows you to subdivide your lot and build additional units. However, in regards to that, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, not all properties qualify because you can't demolish a large percentage of the home. So it's almost as if your home needs to be a little off-centered.
Yes.
In the, on the lot in order for you to divide the lot.
So pretty challenging, but I mean, there's a lot of different types of zoning. So again, you have LAR1, you have LAR2, which is going to allow you to have 2 homes on that structure. LAR3 will allow you to build multiple units. Typically, it's 800 per square feet of dwelling space. So let's say that you purchase a lot that's 8,000 square feet. You take that 8,000, you divide it by 800, that's going to allow you to build about 10 units on that lot. So as a buyer, when you're out searching, those are things to focus on, because in the end, you hold that property for a long period of time. A developer may want to purchase that land eventually, and that land that's zoned in LAR1 versus in LAR1 is going to be more valuable to a developer.
Or you may want to develop it yourself.
Exactly. You never know, but zoning it's critical. And there's a site that we utilize, and we advise buyers to utilize it as well. It's called ZIMAS. It's ZIMAS. And you're able to find out what your zoning is for that unit. Now, one thing to also focus on, you have TOC, which is transit-oriented. TOC, what's the C for?
I don't know what the C is.
Okay, it's transit. So TOC,
transit-oriented something.
It's going to allow you to build even more units. And the reason for this is because you have to allocate a certain amount of the units for low-income housing. But this is something that developers deem it to be valuable. And so just some things to focus on, when purchasing a property.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that in LA. So, and especially with the, housing crisis and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that over time, the land is going to be needed to build on. So if you have a valuable piece of land where you can build multiple units, you yourself can do it. You can collaborate with the city on it. You can, there's so many different avenues. So
something else to focus on too is that property in a historical area.
Right.
So if you're purchasing a home that is a historic home, there's so many rules and regulations as to what you can do with that piece of land.
Yeah.
So it's key to determine what your property is zoned.
Yeah. Most people probably don't even think about the historic area.
Yeah.
In terms of like what can be done and stuff like that.
There's a listing that we have coming up that it's a historical monument.
Yep.
So you cannot demolish it unless it goes through an intense review from the city.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's such a large, like the land, it's about 11,000 square feet. So because of the zoning that it is, typically you would be able to build so many units and a developer would come in and easily purchase this property. But again, because it's a historic monument, you can only build behind, but that property can only be
it can't exceed the size of the original dwelling.
Yeah, so it makes it challenging.
Yeah.
So you got to focus on that when you're purchasing a property.
Definitely. Do you think the zoning laws in California are too strict, or in LA?
I mean, I feel like because we are experiencing the
homeless crisis.
Yeah, the homeless crisis, and there's just not enough inventory. I feel that we're about to start to see a lot of new laws being passed, and we're going to start to just see more creativity to be able to create more home ownership or just more living
Even the
spaces.
fact that even when you have an R1, you can create an accessory
An
dwelling
ADU.
unit, and that's widespread,
Yeah.
throughout. And even in some areas, you can do an accessory dwelling unit and a junior accessory
Yes.
dwelling unit. So essentially, you can potentially on your R1 zoned lot put 3 units.
Yeah.
And that's because of the housing crisis. So I think it's gonna, and the process for getting these ADUs have become a lot more simple. They used to be a lot more intense, but I think, yes, we're gonna see a lot more, softening on all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be great because it's like I talk to people from like everywhere, and folks out in Texas, it's a lot easier to like develop properties and without having that zoning restriction to the extent that we have it out here. So I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see how that changes over time.
Yeah.
And something else I'd like your opinion on. Sometimes I read articles and things like that where people are like, I don't want multifamily properties in my area, or I don't want more density where I live.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's a difficult one because we understand
Where they're coming from, because you have to think.
it's a different type of living, right?
Yeah.
You could have a family and you want a family-oriented neighborhood as opposed to maybe when you're building units and these are, studios, 1 bedrooms, that's a different type of person moving into the neighborhood. Gosh, opinion on that.
That's a tough one.
tough
For
one.
me. That's a tough one for me.
You
to
should have
answer,
sent us
to
this
be
question
honest.
before.
I
No,
know.
it kinda
We
just
might have to
came
cut this out.
No, you're
because
good.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we do need housing.
Yeah,
So I think, okay, so my opinion on that, I think but I think the city should allow certain areas. Like there is an area right now that's really hot that has a lot of historical homes on it,
Oh,
but there's a lot of multifamily.
Yeah.
And so that, and a lot of these historical homes are vacant. So I think the city needs to look at this and make the review process for these historical homes not as like strict and not so strenuous, and should easily grant that so that in the areas, so development can happen in those areas. Like these are vacant homes, right? So it's just sitting there, but because it is deemed a historical monument, you can't do anything with it. So some sort of legislation to eliminate that aggressive process so that you can developers can go to the areas where there's just land being wasted.
Yeah.
And so that would avoid them going into these areas where it's a little easier to do it.
Yeah.
Therefore, causing people that live in single family homes to, get annoyed about the whole process.
Yeah.
So that's on a government level, a local government level. Who can I talk to for that? We got to talk to somebody about that. I did email someone yesterday about that.
Cool.
Yeah, from Housing Authority. I was like, look, there's this house
There's a
just
house
sitting here.
It's just it's burned. Like it's a fire burn property.
And you can build 23 units
because
on
of the zoning.
We need housing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what can we do about this?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. It's almost like back and forth, right? Because a lot of the same people who are saying, yeah, we need more housing, just not where I live, and I mean, I can see both sides of it, but I feel like at a certain point, collectively, people are just gonna have to make a decision. Like,
Absolutely.
do we want to solve this problem and maybe concede a little bit and maybe have a little more density where I live than I would like for the sake of everyone? Maybe. So yeah, I think I'm curious to see how it'll unfold.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because we're in a very interesting place.
We are. California, I think, is going to look so different in the next 10 to 15 years. There's going to be a lot, obviously new developments and stuff, but just in regards to that, with housing and stuff, the shortage.
Definitely. What advice do you have for, it's like a couple tips you have for someone who aspires to be a successful real estate agent, like wherever they are in the country?
Advice, if this is really what you want to do, stay consistent. Consistency is everything. People are watching you and they want to see that you are still consistent in this business. Like there's going to be many days where it's hard. You're going to get so many no's, but one thing we like to say, you're that much closer to a yes. All those no's that you hear, you're that much closer to a yes. But truly just knowing the market and paying attention to what is happening. with like the data, statistics and stuff.
Getting a mentor.
Yes.
If you do decide to jump into it, a mentor is key. A brokerage that has great training.
Yeah.
Because you need to know the basics to feel confident going out there and talking to people. Just also like self-develop classes, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but taking classes,
Yeah.
like we're with the California Association of Realtors, and there's lots of trainings that go on just in regards to contracts and all the, there's so many contracts. California, it's crazy because you look at somebody who's an agent in another state and their contracts are a couple pages, but ours it's like 20 pages, So just taking those trainings, the disclosures and stuff as well.
And we have stuff that is always changing. Rules are always changing,
Yeah.
so staying up on
Definitely.
that. So the classes are key, contract
Imperative.
classes.
And then even just getting yourself out there, going to open houses, not even going to open houses, but holding open houses to be able to just learn the different neighborhoods and stuff, learn the different types of homes, but also being able to meet potential buyers and then just remaining consistent and following up with them.
Look at who are the top people in your, in the different neighborhoods that you want to farm. Also just in the industry in general, like if I know a top agent is coming out with a book, I'm going to order that book. I want to hear what he has to say. Like just keeping up with what are the people that are really successful, what are they doing, and really just trying to emulate and implant it into your business however you can. So.
Yeah, I love that. Just thinking about the interview, this has been a really fun interview. I think it's just been great to hear about how you two work together, some of the creative strategies you're using to combat this low inventory we're seeing right now. And, we had a lot of practical steps and information that people can take and implement, if they're ready to work.
Right, if they're ready to work. Thank you for having us. This was
really
a great
appreciate
conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So please let everybody know where they can follow you, where they can reach you, and keep up with what you two have going on.
For sure. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at the Reneau Group. And then my personal Instagram is Real Estate by Nikki __.
And my personal Instagram is Real Estate by Natasha, just how it sounds.
I like the alignment.
I know. Really?
I finally changed mine up because I was totally different for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, thank you so much. This has been great.
And we love what you're doing too.
It's
this is
amazing.
needed.
Thank
It
you.
is
I appreciate
definitely.
it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And
Bring
thank you
awareness.
everyone for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Again, if you're on audio, leave a 5-star rating, leave a review. I love to hear your feedback. So I look forward to hearing from you. And then if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like this video and share with a friend. Thank you all so much. I look forward to talking to you all soon.
What's up, y'all? Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for watching another episode. Definitely take a moment to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Also, visit our website, blackrealestatedialogue.com, and follow on Instagram at Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you soon.